Hello, everyone, to the first episode zero,
Episode 0.
Of Classic Gaming Brothers. That is the title, right?
I mean, but that's us.
Yeah.
We're Classic Gaming Brothers.
This
This is our podcast, or should be our podcast. So this is, I guess it could just be Classic Gaming Brothers,
Yes.
unless it's already been taken by somebody else.
I don't think it has been taken
Good.
yet.
Good.
I'm
Lock it
Zach,
down. I'm Seth.
and we are brothers.
We are, in fact, brothers.
We are blood related.
Blood-related
We share
brothers.
parents, and we wanted to do a podcast just about our memories playing video games in the late 90s, early 2000s, which is pretty much when I was growing up. Seth has earlier memories because he is older than me.
I am older. The generational gap between us is 6 years, so it kind of gives us a unique perspective on almost two different generations of video games, and both of us are still currently video gamers, I would say.
That's right.
And still try to play this newest stuff that comes out.
Yeah. I mean, for, I guess, just a little history of our time with video games, the first computer game I think I remember playing was Warcraft 1 on the Packard Bell computer that we had. It was a DOS system, 3.1.
And Packard 486?
Yep, 486. And I also played Sonic the Hedgehog 1, or Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on our Sega Genesis that we had, that I broke because I tripped on the wire.
That's right. We had at least 3.
We had at least 3 Sega Genesis.
As children, we were not good with maintaining the construction of the consoles.
No.
The first video game that I played was actually, I believe, what is the game with the mouse for Sega?
Oh, yeah. Rocket Knight?
Rocket Knight.
Rocket Knight?
It was Rocket Knight on Sega Genesis was the first game that I played. And then also, I believe Sonic 2 was there. And then we then eventually got a computer, and we started getting different video games on the computer. I have stayed the course and am still a PC gamer primarily. I own a Switch and a PS3. That is not a misspeak. It is a 3.
Yes. Yeah, I've become more of a console gamer, more of a retro game collector. I have a bunch of old systems. I still have one of our old Sega Genesis. N64, the same N64 that we had growing up, the same GameCube that I got when I was growing up. So I pretty much get my old systems and I don't do anything with them. I just keep them on the shelf.
Take up space.
They just take up space, and they cost me money when I buy old games for them.
Yes, I have a computer I built about 6 years ago now. It's coming up to the end of its life, but it still does all right. And then I have a small collection of around 800 games on Steam, and which I've been collecting since I've been on Steam for about 12 years now.
Yeah. No, I think I have like 600 or something like that, thanks to bundles and gifts.
Yes, I am a Humble Bundle subscriber, so
Yeah.
I do.
Maybe they'll support the show.
Support the show. No, probably not.
No, probably not. So do we want to get into our first segment?
Or yeah, sure. So this episode 0 for our no listeners.
Yes.
For nobody out there, is about our structuring. We're going to kind of talk about, we're going to do a little bit of the episode, we're going to do a little bit of structure. We may scrap the whole thing once we listen back and if we realize everything's screwed up audiologically. So we're generally going to structure our podcast and keep the structure going forward, and essentially 3 groupings. We're going to have our intro, where we're going to talk about stuff that we've recently played. We're going to refer to as our meat of our podcast, or just the center segment, which is going to be kind of a topic of the week, essentially, where we'll talk about all manner of things, primarily about classic games. But we are, once again, gamers still, so we may talk about new stuff or upcoming stuff. And then our last segment is going to be a segment we're going to call Buy, Wait, Pass, which is really where we're going to talk about upcoming games that are not out yet and whether or not we recommend, whether you should buy them, wait on them, or just pass them completely. This may be also new games that come out that we've played them and maybe you haven't gotten around to it, or maybe older games that are getting remastered, or anything that's essentially anything that's in the catalog that you can have the option of buying, waiting, or passing on.
Yeah, a lot of companies out there like Deep Silver and Good Old Games have been publishing and distributing classic games remastered for modern
What is
systems.
it? Night Drivers?
Night Drive? Is that?
No,
Is it
Night Drive? Is it Night Drive?
Is it Night Drive? I think it's Night
the
Drive.
the company that's redoing that game with cybernetics.
Oh, System Shock.
System
correct?
Shock.
Yes,
The new System Shock that's
yeah.
still being developed.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's like
I played a demo of that. I don't know where that is now.
and GOG just released well, not remastered, but compatible versions of the original Warcraft 2 for PC.
And there's a platform to unite them all. GOG just released.
Oh
Galaxy.
yes, yeah.
I have not. I've requested for a beta invite, but I haven't
Galaxy,
given
right?
it to me. The new Galaxy.
New Galaxy,
It's gonna be.
yeah.
It's gonna. Apparently, it's very nice, and it
Yeah.
brings everybody under one roof
I
essentially.
think I asked to be in that beta too, and have not heard back.
Yeah. Well, maybe once we become famous,
and have the GOG supporting us, just giving us games.
they'll rue that we were not in their
That's
beta.
right. That's right.
So let's talk about. Let's go to our introduction, and let's talk about stuff that we've done recently.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
I feel like I've been talking a lot, so you can go
Okay.
first.
Yeah. So I think the game that I've been playing recently a lot of is Dying Light
Yeah.
on the PS4. I picked up. Actually, my roommate bought it for me because he owed me money. So the
always
deal,
a good reason to buy
yeah. So
something.
his deal was that he could either give me cash or buy me a video game. So I was like, buy me a video game. And so
I
yeah,
feel like you're 12.
yeah, we operate on a 12-year-old basis, you know. I think he owed me money for pizza, so you know, that kind of schoolyard.
Have you been
tactics.
liking Dying Light? It's only been out for a couple of years now.
No, it's good. I'm playing it on the PS4, so I get to you know, experience all the nuance with the control scheme and stuff like that. And playing a first-person shooter on a PS4 is not always as intuitive.
That's why I'm still a mouse and keyboard guy.
But I'm enjoying it. I did have some fun with, for some reason, Left 4 Dead 2 was doing a sponsorship with them, because Left 4 Dead 2 is just as relevant as Dying Light is.
I feel like they sponsored it and forgot about it.
Yes, yeah. So I got to enjoy this, what I thought was a glitch of zombies spawning very fast and running at me and killing me instantly, and it was just a feature.
It sounds like they were taking a page out of Bethesda's
their
playbook there.
their playbook. So far, I am enjoying it. I think the gameplay's fun. I don't really care for the story. I think it's kind of stupid.
It's a fetch quest storyline.
Pretty
isn't
much,
it?
yeah.
A lot of different, like, please get me this, and then
Yeah,
you bring it back, and then you go and get it again.
And so far, I'm at that point where I feel further enough in the story, but they're still doing things to like make you do stuff. So, like for example, I'm going into this one mission where they're like, "Oh, you have to go out at night because you have to deal with this one thing," and it's like I've been trying to avoid going out at night, but thanks for making me do it now.
That's fair. Yeah, I have personal experience with the Dying Light game. I have a buddy out there who I play video games with, a guy by the name of Ryan, and we started playing Dying Light together and going through the story, and that story eventually became keep propane tanks away from Ryan.
Yeah.
Because he had the tendency to shoot them.
Yes,
all of them.
that's-
Like whenever we walked into a room, he would find the propane tank, and it would be a struggle of me chasing down the propane tank, picking it up, and hucking it as far as I could before he could shoot it. Which would then, in the Dying Light game, spoiler alert, if you shoot a propane tank, it attracts zombies to you.
Yeah, well, if you shoot anything, if you just shoot a gun out,
Yeah.
you get this, like, it sounds like zombies are coming for you. Sometimes they don't. It's just
Yes.
like, that's the
Well,
sound
let me
effect.
tell you, when you shoot a propane tank, they most decidedly usually do. It's a 98% chance of success rate of attracting zombies there.
I do like the collecting and crafting mechanic. I mean, it's nice, but I don't know. It hasn't completely pulled me in, but I'll probably keep playing until something else comes along.
That's fair. So I've recently been playing We Survive Together, which is off of the We Survive 2 and series of games. It's an adventure puzzle game that you play with somebody else. So I played through with another friend of mine named Ryan. I've got a collection of friends named Ryan.
Yeah, it's good to have
Keeps my life easy that way.
It's good to keep a bunch of Ryans around.
Keep a bunch of Ryans around. You never know when you need one.
Yeah.
And it's a game where you're split from your other party member essentially, and you have to solve puzzles that require both people to do something, but you can't see the other person's screen, so then you have to interpret horrible descriptions about what you need to do and relay horrible descriptions back to eventually figuring out the code of what the puzzle is to solve usually very simple puzzles.
Yeah.
But they're very difficult because they are on two different screens.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of work things out. Great game, very fun, very thinky game. I like those type of puzzle games, adventure games type deals, and we survived together was a good time.
Yeah, nice. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, at least the way you're describing it, the co-op levels of Portal 2, where some of them you were separated and you had to kind of describe some of the less intuitive things for your partner to do.
Yeah, very similar. A little more old, outdated. The graphics are a little more not as flashy, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new game, but it's very like a small dev team.
Okay,
to put it together.
That's
so
cool.
They don't have the budget to go wild.
Nice. Well, that's one to look out for.
Yeah, and it is something that I would recommend it if you like to be frustrated with a friend. Only one friend, though. Yeah. So if you like to be frustrated with multiple friends, perhaps play Dying Light.
Yes, that's very fair. Very.
But it's not only one-person co-op, or is it?
No, it's multiple people co-op.
Oh yeah, so then
you can have a bunch of people jump in.
Struggle with that game.
Yeah.
So then we're gonna do a break to go to the main segment of the podcast.
That's right.
So you wanted to talk about old adventure games.
Yeah, old adventure games, childhood memories, stuff like that. Games that we grew up playing. I thought it was good to get people into pretty much the whole idea of doing this podcast in the first place.
Yeah, perhaps. In episode 0.
Episode 0, yeah.
So, and then, after that, we're done.
Yeah, exactly.
One episode, 0, and that's it.
But, I mean, because you pretty much introduced me to the adventure game genre.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't remember... I got into playing things like Monkey Island or Fandango later, but I mean...
Both fabulous
games. But I think it was games like Dragon Sphere and Return to the Phantom, those Microprose adventure games that were kind of in the style of the Lucas... was that Microprose?
They were Microprose.
Yeah, that was kind of the style of the LucasArts.
Which were coming out around the same... So pretty much every dev house was making those.
Yes, yeah.
So LucasArts was making them... as well as Microprose.
Yeah.
My father would just buy things at Big Lots, which means that Microprose games were purchased well after they were done with being in the the regular market, and they were moved on to the Big Lots market.
Yeah, our introduction to a lot
maybe
of...
Kmart.
Yes, Kmart, I think, or Aldi's. I think our introduction to a lot of PC games was the Bargain Bin and demo discs.
Which, I mean, great games.
Yes, yeah.
They formulated my opinion of video games and what I enjoy, and they came at a discount.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes discounted games aren't a bad thing. In particular, not really adventure game per se. I mean, it has adventure elements, but I was replaying Star Trek Elite Force, the FPS game built on the Quake 3 engine, or one of the Quake engines.
Quake is a solid,
solid
build.
It was a very nostalgic game for me to play. Very dated game, as in just kind of the things that happen in it.
I've actually thought about going back and playing it, and that's as far as that thought has materialized.
So I had the thought. I found a copy online. It's actually not, unfortunately, available on any distribution sites that I can find,
or in your retailers.
Yeah, but I think it's on Abandonware right now.
It might also be on the cusp of being abandoned.
Yeah, it feels abandoned. Managed to get it working on
Who published it? Do you know?
Oh no, it was.
We're not referencing anything here, so we can't actually give you answers.
I don't think
we may be able to in future episodes.
We do have a computer in front of us, but we're not.
Yeah. We actually, in fact, have 2 computers in front of us. But one of them's very far away.
Yes. I don't remember who published it, but they
Activision.
Activision, yes, yeah, it was Activision. It was a
well
before
house. The merger. Well before the merger.
Yeah.
Activision was the publisher, and I want to say something Falcon was the.
It was like it was like
some creature or something.
Raven, yeah.
You can look it up and you can just tell us.
Yeah,
we're
shoot us a
wrong.
message. So yeah, and I mean, I played that, and I actually played through most of the I think I went through the second one. I think I gave up playing the second one because I just got frustrated.
But the second one's easier to play.
Yes, but I got frustrated because it kept crashing.
Who's the guy that it goes away at the oh, what's the guy, the jock? Do you remember?
Yes, yeah, I forget his name. I was literally just playing this like a few weeks ago, but he's such a obnoxious character. And he's always coming up to you. He's always like badgering your character like you're in high school, and he's like, "How's it going?"
Well, and you're playing the game while you're in high school.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're experiencing it, and it's very relatable. At least when I was playing the game, it was when I was in high school or a little bit before. It was an interesting FPS. I don't think it did anything unique for its time, except for the inventory system.
Yeah, their whole explanation of how the inventory system works.
So the inventory system in the Star Trek Elite Force game, which was not a classic adventure game,
no,
it was an FPS game.
Yes.
Zach just recently played it, so that's why we're currently talking about it. But in the inventory system, in order to explain, because essentially this company came forward and made this Star Trek game because Star Trek Voyager was out and was essentially the series of Star Trek that people were watching because none of the other series were on.
Right. Yeah. I think Next Gen was in syndication.
Next Gen was in syndication. DS9 may have been.
Yeah, I think DS9 was probably just wrapping up.
We're not really big Star Trek nerds, so don't even
That's
question us on that. So in order to kind of explain off like the doom of I'm a guy carrying around all these weapons, where do these weapons go when I switch them? They introduced a micro transporter effect, so you essentially carried around a transporter in your bag, so whenever you changed weapons there was a sound effect and a glowy effect around the weapon as it materialized in your hand. Also, when you occasionally viewed yourself from third person and you changed weapons, you would see that transporter effect happen when you changed weapons over.
Yeah, which was a nice touch.
It was a nice touch. It did very little, and they could have probably left it out
and
not even talked about it, but I think that was one of the few things beyond being very, I think personally, very close to the material, the source material.
Yeah, I mean, it had, I think the expansion pack at least added in all the voice actors. I think the original release didn't have, I think it was missing the actual voice actor for Tuvok. Or no, maybe it was it might have been the voice actor for like 7 and 9 or something like that. But when they did the DLC, they patched it, so it was all the original voice actors.
And they had
the actors.
Kate Mulgrew?
Kate Mulgrew, yeah.
Kate Mulgrew was Captain Janeway.
Captain Janeway. And in the sequel, Sir Patrick Stewart plays Picard.
Yes. Yeah. So they're obviously looking for work, or were at the time.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I think the game was somewhat successful.
Yeah,
we purchased it, so that's at least 2 copies that were sold.
Yes, it didn't warrant any recent developments in the Star Trek first-person shooter, but it was really the only Star Trek first-person shooters. I can't think of any others.
I think in the MMO you do a little bit of first-person shooting.
Yeah, a little bit.
There was a Sega Genesis release, the Star Trek Deep Space Nine game, which was great.
Yes, that was great. Really great soundtrack.
Really good soundtrack. It was a side scroller, and it was a very traditional side scroller except Star Trek themed. And I think the best part of that game was at one point in time you play as Odo in the game.
Yeah.
And you can shapeshift because Odo is a shapeshifter.
Yeah,
so
you can
become like a rat to solve puzzles.
Yeah, and you can go through the vents and stuff.
Yeah, very Metroid-esque before Metroid was a thing.
And you go back in time.
I don't know.
It was definitely after Metroid, but yeah. Metroid came out in the 80s, but... Yeah. But there's also, like, you go back in time, you fight the Borg, I think, at one point in the Sega Genesis game.
Yes.
And that was cool. They love the Borg in Star Trek video game universe.
Yes, well, so the Borg have an adaptive technology.
Yes.
So then you have to have a gun that is a universalator modulator gun.
Yes,
That changes
yes,
the
yes.
frequency so that you can punch through the shields.
Which in Elite Force translates to kind of looks like the plasma gun from Doom.
Sure.
And pretty much does exactly that.
Yep. And it's kind of like almost like a Gauss.
Yeah, like
weapon.
a Gauss cannon. Yeah.
So that's a classic first-person shooter game.
Yes. Well, what about you? What's a classic?
Childhood memory of playing a game. I think we were talking about Return of the Phantom and Dragon Sphere. Both very kind of push drag adventure games where you have one room at a time. You see your character, and then you select an action, and then you select the action onto a thing in the room.
Yeah.
So you say, talk to desk. And then there will be a pop-up that says, I would not talk to a desk, or something funny. But you could push the desk, or pull the desk, or do something. And there's all these push talks. It's like talk, push, pull, pick up, interact with, so you can take an item and use it for another item. Games like Thimbleweed Park.
Yes.
Which is a
relatively new game.
Relatively new
years
game.
ago, yeah.
Has a very similar interface. Return to Monkey Island has a very similar interface. It's a classic interface. It just kind of defines those type of adventure games.
Yeah, I mean, it very much came from. It was an evolution of the Zork style
yes.
commands in the old text adventure games before graphics
Yep.
were really big.
Yep.
A lot of the same semantics go to pick up and stuff like that were used in those early games.
Which reminds me, I did play some ZZT.
Yes.
And Zork and Muds.
Yes.
At a friend's house. So we didn't have a game system, and I would visit with a friend, and he had ZZT on it, which is actually a game that was done by Epic.
Yes.
Who's done Fortnite.
Yes. It was one of Epic's
topic.
Yes, topical. Yeah.
Todd Sweeney or no?
Was it
Tim Sweeney?
Tim Sweeney, I think.
Sweeney.
Yeah.
Tim Sweeney's first game.
Yeah, it's. I was playing a bit of ZZT back in college just because I remembered you playing it.
Yeah.
And I think I would watch you play it.
Great game.
Yeah.
Well, it's like almost like a modular game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the base game is kind of just your run-of-the-mill dungeon, crawler. Like you go, it's like almost like a roguelike.
Yeah, in an ASCII or ASCII format. So things might be symbols from the keyboard. There might be equal signs that make a wall or something like that.
I know there's a whole repository of early, essentially mods of ZZT that people
Burger Town,
yes.
where you run a burger shop and I think at some point in time someone tries to rob it or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, so you're making hamburgers and you're cleaning up spills, and then somebody pulls a gun on you or something. It's like Burger Town in some nasty part of town, I guess.
It's the Burger Town from Modern Warfare 2. Get to the Burger Town! Bridgeport, yeah. ZZT was cool. It was, it's definitely an incredibly dated game, but it was very innovative for the time.
It was. It was very innovative.
I assume...
Timeless, almost like Zork.
Timeless, almost like Zork. I mean, yeah, both those games, I think... If you're interested in adventure games, you can probably jump in and be familiar with them at least, to an extent.
Some of them can be overwhelming when you need to type in what you need to do next. Because you're not exactly sure what feature. It's not as easy as maybe a graphical user interface such as Zork does not have a. Really, Zork is a command prompt driven game, so there's not a GUI, as it were, or any type of visualization, which a lot of games have nowadays. I think mostly are visualization, so there's that.
Definitely makes it a lot easier.
But Return to the Phantom of the Opera and Dragon Sphere were both excellent adventure games. One involved you playing a king who went up against a wizard. That's the Dragonsphere game.
Yes.
And then Return of the Phantom, you played a French inspector who was investigating a copycat crime of the chandelier being dropped, and then that game culminates with you going back in time to solve the original crime of the family.
Yeah, and your character is a descendant of...
Yes, he's a descendant of
Raoul Montand, I think he's the
Vicomte.
Vicomte
the Vicomte de Chagny.
Vicomte de Chagny is the love interest of Christine
Daae.
Christine Daae, the actress.
Christine Daae. And there is a Christine in the first, when you're playing the descendant, and then you go back and you're still the descendant, but it's weird. It's a fun game.
Yeah. And if you think our French accents are bad, play the game and you'll hear their French accents. They get a lot worse.
It's fully both Dragonsphere and Return of the Phantom of the Opera are fully voice acted.
Yes, yeah.
Which is quite intensive. It's very for that time, especially.
Oh yeah,
fully voice acted. A lot of story elements to it. The graphics are pixely, but it's okay. It's still pretty refined pixels. It's not like
very fluid animations, if I remember correctly.
Very fluid animations. It's sprite technology, so there's drawn backgrounds, and then you have a sprite that represents your character running around in it, chasing the phantom, as it were.
Yes.
I don't know if if we're telling people to play it. I don't know if we want to spoil either of the games.
No, yeah.
I think they're both fun games.
They're both fun. I don't believe Return of the Phantom is available on GOG or Good Old Games.
Yes,
or
Dragonsphere is for some reason,
and it was free.
And it's free.
Yeah.
So you can, if you wanted to see what we're talking about, you can go and download Dragonsphere and play it and go through it. It's a great game. It's got a cool kind of twisty ending.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Have you beaten the game completely?
I don't think I think I watched you beat the game.
No, I've never beaten the game.
You never beat the game?
We had the EMS extended
Oh,
RAM issue that
right.
happened where we pulled the sword on the Yeti.
Right, I remember
It
that.
would crash.
Yeah, the game would crash.
You should go play
I need to.
through it.
Yeah, I need to replay it.
It's got a very good twisty ending to it, and it just it's not what you're expected the entire time that you're playing through the game. It's a great game, and it's free, so it's probably. I would say probably you can get maybe 3 to 4 hours out of it, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
If you just play it right through, maybe if you tab through and you read quick, maybe you can get 5 hours out of it. I wouldn't push it past anything longer than that. They're both they're pretty middling adventuring games in regards to time.
Yeah, I mean back then adventure games weren't entirely like epics at that time. Most of them weren't.
And they were limited by what they could fit. Return of the Phantom of the Opera and Dragonsphere were both sold on CD-ROMs.
Yes.
So they were more extensive adventure games that were sold earlier, like on floppy disks.
You're right.
I did have a collection of TSR, which is the precursor to Wizards of the Coast.
Right. Yeah.
Company that made Dungeons and Dragons. I had some TSR. They got into a partnership with a company called SSI, which was Strategic Simulations Incorporated.
Yes, yeah.
And they produced a bunch of D&D related games that I owned. Some of them were on 3.5 floppies, and some of them were on CD-ROM.
Yeah, like
Dark Sun, Shattered Lands, the Stone Prophet.
Stone Prophet was
both of them were on CD-ROMs, and both of them were 2 entirely different games.
Yes.
Stone Prophet was a first-person D&D, very similar to Grimlock,
yeah, and actually, and also kind of similar to the really early Elder Scrolls games, like Daggerfall and Arena.
Yep.
Just in terms of this big open world and the way it's kind of not intuitive the way you control the character and stuff like that.
It's a first-person's perspective. You have to use your keyboard to move the feet, and then you click on the action you want to perform, whether you want to swing your knife or shoot a fireball or something like that. And Dark Sun was more of a pulled back view where you would control a whole squad of people, so you'd get up to 6, and you were gladiators who then break out of the gladiators through the sewers and escape through and eventually recruit a bunch of people to take on a big opposing force.
Yeah.
Really good game. That's a little bit more 8-bit graphics, very similar to type of games that you would see built by RPG Maker and stuff
Yes,
like that.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
a
yeah.
little lower quality, but in returns the graphics, but great story overall. And I believe all of those games are even the older D&D games, like Masters of Kryn, which is
I think all of
Dragonlance game.
I think all of the D&D games pretty much
are on GOG.
Yeah,
They're all on GOG. I think I own them all on GOG.
I believe you do, and they're all fairly cheap.
They're cheap. Yeah, you can get them in packages, maybe $20 for like all of them or something.
Yeah, they're definitely not. They won't break the bank if you want to invest in
some older
classic
type of classic games. I think GOG has done it so that you can run them on newer systems. So
yeah, they have their own. Most of them run through DOSBox, but that you don't have to worry about all the annoying parts of configuring DOSBox to run,
right.
Which takes a million years sometimes. So it's just a one-click game will run.
DOSBox, for people who are not familiar, is almost like a virtual machine for the DOS system, which is the old command. It's essentially the old kernel that Windows used to run on, except until it hit Windows. I think Vista may be the first one that stopped using DOS as a base.
I believe so.
And then once essentially they migrated away from DOS, but they have the command prompt still, but DOSBox emulates what DOS was capable of doing.
Yeah, and you can do some cool things with DOS. I actually ran for a while a Windows 3.1 computer off of DOSBox.
Oh yeah,
fun. Yeah, so I was able to
inside your other computer,
inside my computer,
so like a virtual 3.1.
Essentially, yeah. And I was able to run games that didn't work for DOS but worked for Windows sort of stuff.
Oh,
so there's a couple of games.
So you can kind of like backdoor into playing a game that you wouldn't otherwise be able to.
Exactly. And you can do that also with, I think, Windows 95. Some of the early Windows computers that ran off of DOS, you could, if you don't mind doing a kind of like little shady partition, then you can pretty much set up a virtual computer without having to run a virtual machine.
Right. Yeah, I think you can get more like VMware would be a little more like technical versus doing what the DOSBox built off of it. But I think overall, if there's a will, there's a way when it comes to playing older games.
That's right.
And do you have anything else on childhood
No,
memories?
I don't think so.
Putt-Putt. I see Putt-Putt.
Yeah, Putt-Putt. I mean,
Putt-Putt was a great game. You played as a talking car.
You played as a talking car.
It was done by Humongous Entertainment.
Yeah, you played as a talking car who lived by himself, even though I'm pretty sure he was 10 or 8 years old.
Well, he was a car, so that's
yes,
a
but
million.
he's definitely a child.
No, not necessarily. My car was 10 and I sold it.
That's true. That's true.
It's off at the junkyard at the sky.
Yeah, you played as an anthropomorphic car living in a world of anthropomorphic cars, and you...
Kind of like Cars, the movie?
A little like Cars, the movie, except instead of doing what you'd expect cars to do, which was race each other, you either went to the moon, or you started a parade, or you saved the zoo.
Yeah. all three. I would say escalating, right?
Yes.
Starting the parade is probably the easiest task, since you're a car. If you get a bunch of cars to follow you, you're essentially a parade.
Yeah.
Saving the zoo is probably a little more tough.
The fourth one, you go back in time, and forward in time, so you have to save time as a car.
The super escalation of it.
Yeah.
They were very similar to the... Putt-Putt played very similar to the Freddy Bear.
Freddy Fish.
Freddy Fish.
And this Fatty Bear.
And
that's what it's called, Fatty Bear.
Fatty Bear.
Yeah.
Fatty Bear and Freddy Fish.
Yes.
And
Pajama Sam.
And
Spy Fox.
Spy Fox.
Yep.
They were all adventure games. I think they had similar UIs to Phantom, and with like a push, you talk to and you navigate them around the screen using interaction buttons.
A little more dumbed down because it was targeting a preschool audience.
Yes, they were targeting
now.
Yeah, we were never the right age to play the games because they were once again discounted, so they were already past our age.
Just a quick story. There was this one time I had started up a game of Putt-Putt, and for some reason in Putt Putt, for those who've never played any of Humongous Game, one of the biggest things is that everything is clickable. If you click on random things in the background, funny things will happen. Sometimes, like, things will pop up and make jokes, or things will start singing. It was really mindless clicking around. Anyway, so I like to do that. Sometimes I would spend 10 minutes or so before I actually got into the meat of the game. One day, I'm playing Putt Putt. I'm playing Putt Putt Goes to the Moon, and I get up from the chair.
Now, is this recent?
No. This was back. This is back when we were back living in Connecticut. So I got up. I went to the bathroom. I came back, and there's our dad sitting there playing Putt Putt Goes to the Moon. And he's already on the moon, and he's way past the parts I wanted to play.
Oh, that's funny. Our father, I have a good story about Dad. He went to work, and he also played video games, still plays video games today. He got a copy of Wolfenstein.
Yes.
When Wolfenstein came out on 3.5 floppy, and he put it in his secret desk to play when we were sleeping. And I found that copy of Wolfenstein, and I played Wolfenstein when he was sleeping. Well, I don't think he was actually sleeping. I think that he was actually at work. But
yeah.
When he would go to work, I would go in and I would take the disc and I would play Wolfenstein, the original Wolfenstein, where it was just you killing a bunch of Nazis.
Good times.
A great game.
Yeah.
Still a great series.
It is.
Wolfenstein, the new one's coming out soon.
Yeah, Youngblood just came out.
Youngblood just came out.
Yeah, it's the co-op game.
Yeah, I don't know if it got very good reviews.
I don't think it did, but
I really liked Wolfenstein, the one that just came out before Colossus.
Oh, New Order.
New Order. I
Yeah.
really liked New Order, and I played most of Colossus, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's a good game if you just want to just kill Nazis.
It's very mindless killing Nazis. I mean, the plot is pretty much
just killing Nazis.
kill the Nazis.
Yeah, kill the Nazis.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more into that, but that can be for another time.
Yeah.
Talk about Nazis.
The Nazis in video games. Killing Nazis. Yeah.
So our final segment here is going to be a buy, wait, pass segment, where we're going to kind of talk about some games that are coming out and what we recommend. Take our recommendations with a grain of salt, as it were. As in, don't buy a game because I tell you to buy a game. Buy a game because you want to buy a game. But use our recommendations, perhaps guide you. If you listen to our podcast and enjoy our kind of the games that we play and how everybody reacts to games differently.
Yes.
And I think that if you enjoy the way that we react to games and the games that we play, the recommendations for us to buy may be up your alley. So I think I'll take the beginning.
You take that. Yeah.
So I think the game that's coming up that's got me interested is Planet Zoo by Planet Coaster people, which is Frontier, who also did Elite Dangerous.
Yes.
The same guys. They're very good. Love them as a development house. They always produce a product, and if it's not polished on day one, it's polished eventually. And they always are releasing new content and always are working on making their game. And I think they're still going to put stuff out for Planet Coaster. I think they're still going to put stuff out for Elite Dangerous, and I think they'll always put stuff out for Planet Zoo. So the thing with me and Planet Zoo right now is that I haven't purchased it yet because it's, I think, $50 on Steam.
Yeah.
And
it's a full price game.
It's a full price game, and with the December holidays coming up, Steam generally runs a very big December sale on it. It's like their Christmas sale. It's second to their summer sale, which I think is their biggest sale.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to wait through Christmas to see if it's going to get even like 10% off, because I don't think it's I think it's worth the full retail. I don't want to pay the full retail.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wait on it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, there's certain games that I've definitely passed on because they're
that's
full
a wait,
retail.
Right? It's not a pass.
Yeah, it's a wait.
I think a pass is a hard. Don't play this game.
Right.
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
that's
you're
fair.
going to boot it up, and you're going to be like, all right, everything's just not a game that you want to play, and you just end up returning it using the 2-hour window time on Steam to return it, and or get it as your Humble Bundle collection and just decide never to pick it up again.
I know there's so I think the game I'm kind of in the middle of either buy or wait. I have a little bit of time before it actually is released. Is the next Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order?
Oh yes, that looks exciting.
Yes, it is EA, which they've so far have fooled us twice. So hopefully this won't be the third time. Shame on us. But they're promising a full single player, no microtransactions. Just solid Star Wars storyline, a canon story.
Yeah, by Respawn. Who've at least made one other Star Wars game that got scrapped.
Yes, but they did also make Titanfall, which was a very fun game.
Did they do Titanfall 2?
I think they might have.
Because that's a pretty good story.
Yeah, Titanfall 2 is fun. But so far, Fallen Order looks really good. The early reviews have said it's comparable to like an easier Dark Souls in terms of gameplay, a lot of countering and stuff like that, and that the lightsaber combat feels very fluid. Yeah. I don't know how the story is going to be. I mean, it's a Star Wars video game. They're not always known for great storylines, but
I don't know. The Knights of the Republic had a great storyline.
All right. To be fair, the games that weren't made by BioWare probably didn't have solid storylines.
Well, there are games that BioWare has made that do not have solid storylines.
That's true. Like Sonic the Hedgehog Dark Chronicles for Sega DS, Nintendo DS
was made by BioWare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think. So Star Wars, Knights of the Republic, very good storyline. Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, great storyline.
Arguably, great storylines.
I think personally. I'm getting forced Unleashed experience like in my mind when I look at the new Star Wars game coming out. I feel Force Unleashed. I tried to play Force Unleashed. They had very difficult time porting it to the PC.
Yeah, the PC version sucks.
So it's very hard for me to play that game.
That's what some people I've heard are a little worried it's going to feel like Force Unleashed 3 essentially. But I'm hoping it's kind of what Force Unleashed could have been, just a little more streamlined.
Yeah, I'm nothing against Force Unleashed. I think
it's a fun game.
It could be a fun game.
Yeah.
I think it's a little over the top when it comes to the Force powers, but I think that's part of the whole Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
It's in the name of the game. So
yeah.
I'm not faulting that for it, but it's just not my flavor of Star Wars that I like. I hope that maybe Respawn makes a more realistic Force powers. I've seen some intro and some demo play and stuff like that. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the Force stuff seems pretty solid. I think it's pretty much just the basics: Force push, Force pull, Force throw, chuck, and choke and stuff like that. So
choking people.
Yeah, just choking, throwing them.
Lightning. There's nothing better than that, right?
So I think it's mostly just the basic stuff, but it's you playing as a Jedi who's fighting stormtroopers, so more killing Nazis.
So you give it a solid byweight.
Yeah, byweight. I think
byweight.
I think I'm gonna pull the trigger before release date, but I'm not 100% sure. And when I do pull the trigger, I'm sure I'll feel happy about it.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I'll wait for it to go on sale.
I'm probably gonna wait for the first reviews from Steam to come in.
Yeah.
Kind of take a pulse on where it's trending, and if it's trending towards the positive end, I'll pick it up too.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars, and generally have enjoyed most of the Star Wars games that have come out in one way or the other, including the Phantom Menace game.
It was very fun. Yeah. Stop pushing me.
That could be an entire...
I think we could do an entire 45 minutes of us talking about that game.
That game. Maybe boot it up a little bit and play some. So I think that's going to be it for us.
Yeah, I think that was solid. Yeah.
That's our solid 45 minutes. We're trying to keep our runtime within 45 minutes in order for people to enjoy our Dukelet tones for a period of a drive versus forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys would want to hear us go on forever. Zach's thing is already bugging out. So we do have some ways that we're going to be reachable. This will be put out on the podcast networks.
Yes. So it will be loaded through most likely SoundCloud, and then from there we're gonna get it distributed.
RSS feed out to everybody.
Yeah.
However that's done.
We'll work on that. Yeah, that will be done.
It will be available for people to listen to.
Yeah.
We are also going to try and do these regularly.
Yes.
We are also going to try and make sure that they're released on a same day so that people can expect to see us in your feed. What that day is, we don't know. This is episode 0. We really don't know what we're doing. We do have an email that you can send us things in the event that you listen to this.
Yes.
And decide to move on to another episode. Let us know if you decide to go on to another episode or if you just turn us off. Our Gmail account is classicgamingbrothers, all one word, @gmail.com. So that's classic, CLASSIC, gaming, GAMING, brothers, BROTHERS, @gmail.com. You can send us an email. You can say you enjoy the show. You can send us questions, maybe some stuff that we can talk about in the meat of the podcast, or you can talk to us about games that you're playing, or just send us anything at all, and we may even have a segment where we read through people's emails.
Yes, if we get enough that are nice.
Yeah, nice. Or if you have feedback in regards to what, I'm too loud, Zach's too loud, I talk too much, he talks too much, whatever you think that you can add, we'll like to hear it. So. Well, that's it.
That's been Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's been Classic Gaming Brothers. Should we say goodbye?
We should say goodbye.
How do we want to have a signature goodbye, or should we just awkwardly stare at each other but no one can see us because this is all voice?
That sounds good.
All right. Well, I've been Seth,
and I've been Zach.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.